So I've made few SmartBone tutorials already, and you guys have been requesting that I make hair. So I'm going to show you how to make dynamic hair physics simulation on Roblox. And I already have a hair model that I've made, but whenever I try to add hair physics to this, I'm just gonna show what happens. Well, as you can see, that. So I kind of thought that, hey, I need to use a different hair model. And because of that, I'm going to export this hair into Blender, because this one is kind of universal, and this is a good example of how to rig the hair for SmartBone. And if you want to export this yourself, you can right click on the model and press on export selection. This will export it as an OBJ file. But anyways, let's get to Blender now. And to import it, you just do File, Import, and then select the OBJ legacy. And then it's going to appear right here after you import it. And then you want to position it in the center. So I'm just going to enable the screencast keys really quickly so you can see what I'm pressing. But you want to go into the edit mode, select everything, and then search for the cursor to selected option. Now go back to the object mode, and then search for origin to 3D cursor. This will make it so the origin point is going to be in the center, and then from there you can just reset the location in the transform menu on the right, like this. And now since we exported this hair from Roblox, there is some fixing that we need to do, and that is because if I, let's say, press L on this part, you can see how it's not connected to the entire mesh. And that's because of how Roblox basically just cuts every mesh into like these different sections. But right now in the edit mode, you want to select everything, go into the vertex selection, and then you want to basically just right click and select the merge vertices. And choose the by distance option. Here you can see that it removed over 1000 vertices. So now if I press L on this part, you can see that it selected the whole hair instead. And this is a separate part of the hair. Okay, and now this is going to be the rigging part. And I've said that this hair is universal, and that's because of its volumes of hair. You have a bit of these strands right here that go from the sides, as well as this whole main section in the back. And these parts are what you want to apply the physics simulation to. You can apply them to all of these hair on the front, but there isn't really a need for that. It would just be an overkill and also very performance heavy. But anyways, let's just add the armature by pressing Shift A and then selecting the armature. And you have to do it from the object mode. And then I forgot to move the cursor to the word origin. Okay, but the armature should have applied right there. So you just have this bone right here in the center. And this is going to be the root bone that we want to position roughly around where the neck is going to be. And how I like to structure the hair is that there is going to be the root bone and individual bones going out from it. These other bones aren't going to affect anything except the bones that are going to, let's say, go down with the strands of the hair. But while being in the edit mode of the armature, that is, after you go into the armature, you just press on tab, you want to select this point right here on the top and just extrude it with E. And you want to hold down the scroll wheel to extrude it on the axis. And you just want to move it to the back right here. And another thing that you can do is to view the armature better, you go to the object data properties right here, and under the viewport display, you select in front. So now it's going to be a bit easier. And where we want to position this point depends on the hair. For example, you can see that most of the hair is going out from this section right here. So that's where the physics simulation is going to happen. We don't want this top part to be moving really. So I'm going to position it around this area where all of the other bones are going to go out from too. That's going to be around from right here. And now we add bones that are going to have the physics attached to them. And we need to go down with the flow of the hair. And you can see that there are these two sections. One is at the back right here and the other is at the front. We want to position these bones between them so they automatically adjust the proper weight. And I'm going to deselect the in front for now. Okay, and this part, this hierarchy of bones that goes down, this is basically going to handle this whole volume of hair. And now we want to add two separate trees, one going on the left, that's going to handle this volume, and one on the right that's going to handle this right volume. And I also feel like these two parts right here don't really need to move, but you could add more bones if you wanted to. So again, I'm going to just extrude it, move it up, and then move it to the left. And I'm going to position it between these two right here. And let's just go down with the flow of the hair again. And how many bones you add is also entirely up to you. The more bones, the more performance heavy it's going to be, but it's also going to have more detail. And now we do the same for the other part. And this doesn't really have to be too symmetrical. So we have the back section basically just done. I just need to adjust this one right there. And now let's move to the front one. And for this one I just want to position these bones around these trains like this. Then to select these both and move them upwards to where the strength is basically just starting. And just keep extruding them downwards. So that's it for basically creating the armature. You don't need to cover the whole hair or make the structure, so you have these chains of bones going to every basically strand. Something like this will give a good effect anyways. So now we want to apply the hair to the armature. And we do so by selecting the hair, then the armature, and pressing on Ctrl and P. If you don't have these options with the armature deform, that means you selected them incorrectly. If I for example select the armature then the hair, I'm not gonna have these options right there. So again, select the hair then the armature, and press on Ctrl and P. Then you just want to select with automatic weights. And now we need to do some weight adjustments. So while having the object selected, you can see that you have a lot of these vertex groups. Whenever you press on one and go to the weight paint mode, this will make it so it's going to show you the weight of each bone. And this means how much influence the bone has over that area. The first thing we need to do is remove the weight from these bones right here, because they aren't going to be moving anyway. And we do so by going to the object's edit mode, selecting everything, and pressing on remove. So we removed everything from the root bone right here. And we also want to do the same for this bone. So select everything, and then remove. And now this bone right here is a bit more tricky, because we just need to remove the weight from this top part. So you can go somewhere to like the back view. And then in the edit mode, go to the wireframe view, and want to just select this top part. And I then select everything properly. And then just press on remove. You can see how these strands of hair are basically being separated from right here. So you want to simulate the physics from this point. So that's basically going to be everything for these 4 bones in the middle. Except just few adjustments that I'm gonna show later. Now if I go to the next bone, which you can see that it basically jumps from the bottom right here to the top. That means it switched from the last bone in the hierarchy here to the next bone that we made. And from this one I just want to select everything again and press on remove. Then on the lower one, again just go to the front view. First here just select this whole thing. Because like I said, I don't really want this to move. So I just press on remove. And then just select everything from this point onwards. And again press on remove. And then you can see how it has a little bit of weight right here. And don't worry about that, we'll fix that later. Then I need to remove this weight. So again, just select this and press on remove. Then same with this one, because apparently it has a little bit of weight on this corner. So just have it selected and remove. And then same with the next one. So select everything, remove. And then just go down the hierarchy. And now moving to the front right here. Again, this one you just want to remove. And go to the next bone. And again, this one is a bit more tricky. And that is because we want to remove this top section, but once we remove it, it's going to immediately transition to red weight. So this bone, whenever it's going to be physics simulated, is going to go from 0 influence to 100. And this is going to cause weird deformations. So the first thing you want to do is select around 0.5 on the weight, and just weight paint it like so. And this bone, I need to go to the solid view, starts from right here. And if it starts from right here, we just want to select everything above it. Or an easier way would be to select everything, go to the wireframe view, and then deselect the part that we want to be moving. So I need to select this. And while having everything selected except this part, we just want to press on the remove button. So now if I go to the weight paint, it's going to be adjusted properly. And then it's kind of the same with these 2 bones. You can see how they are basically going to the red part immediately. And we kind of just want to keep it at green. And same with the tip right here. And now we'll just do the same for the other strand right here. This one is a bit awkward, but this should be fine. Okay, and now for the last thing with weight painting, because something like this just happened to me a lot of times, and it's because of the automatic weights. So like I said previously, for example, these bones right here, we don't want them to have influence over this area. And sometimes even if you can't see any weight, if I put it on like a really low number and paint it, it's still going to be there, and yeah, we don't really want that to happen. So what I need to do right now is, for all of these bones in the middle, I want to select these parts that aren't supposed to have any weight and just remove them. And sometimes you don't even have to do this process, but I would rather be safe. So I just need to remove this for the groups from 02 to 05. Then just same goes for the sides right here. You can see that they have weight on this area. And this one is from 07 to 010. And same for the other side. So 12 to 15. And the rest had everything removed, so this should be everything for the weight paint. And now let's get to actually exporting the module. So you need to select them, go to File, Export, and then FBX. I'm going to name this one SmartBone Hair, and in the export settings you want to select selected objects, change the scale to like 0.05, then Z to forward, and you want to apply transforms. In the geometry, if you add any other hair, you want to apply the modifiers. On this one you don't really have anything. And then in the armature you want to select only deform bones and don't add leaf bones. And we don't have any animation, so I can deselect this option. Then we can just press on Export FBX. And now we need to import the hair into Roblox Studio. So you select Import 3D, and then this is going to pop up after selecting the file. And you need to make sure you have the hair and the armature. Because if you don't have the armature, that means you either didn't apply it correctly or messed something up while exporting. But then I don't need to upload this to Roblox, so I can just press on import. And I'm going to have the hair right here. So let me just duplicate this dummy, and let's give this guy a wig. So it's going to have the hair like this. Now I'm going to put the hair model into the starter character, then remove the initial poses and the animation controller. And really quickly I'm going to weld the hair to the head. So part 0 is going to be the hair, and part 1 is going to be the head. And you will see this connection appear. Then just disable the collision on the hair. And I'm firstly going to show you how to set up the SmartBone module. So I'm going to leave links to everything in the description, but once you are on the SmartBone to deform post, you want to press on the releases. This will take you to the GitHub page, when you will have these assets. From the assets you can either download the demo place, which is this place right here, but I'm using an older version, or you can download the SmartBone 2 model. And after you download it, you want to right click on the replicated storage and press on insert from file. Then I'm going to select the Roblox model file. And I'm going to have the SmartBone module right here. And then there is the script in the starter player. This is the initialized script for the SmartBone to run. So you require the SmartBone module and use the start method. And that's it for the module itself, but right now we need to apply the SmartBone to this hair. And the first thing we need to do is go to the tags in the properties. You can also go to view and then tag editor, and then from the tag editor you want to select the SmartBone tag while having the mesh part selected. Like this. You can see that it popped up right here in the properties, but you can also just press on the plus icon and then just select SmartBone. And then down in the attributes, we need to add an attribute called roots. And it needs to be a string attribute. And then after that, we want to put in the name of every root bone we have. In our case, it's just this one, which is going to be bone. And that should be all for the SmartBone to run, so I'm going to put this starter character in the starter player and press on play. And we have hair physics. But there is also a few different things that we need to do, because you can see that it's kind of jiggly, and this isn't properly behaving like hair. And that's because we need to adjust settings. And you have the documentation on the dev forum post right here too, that after you open, you need to go to the SmartBone and scroll down to the attributes. You have all of these different settings that you need to put in as attributes, and you also need to make sure that they are the proper type. For example, the damping, if you wanted to change the damping setting, you would press on the plus on the attributes, type in damping, and then just select a number, and press on save. But a really neat thing that I have is this SmartBone editor plugin that's going to adjust these settings manually. It already put every single setting from the default preset. But what I want to apply is this preset that I've made. I just saved this from this hair right here, and I want to press on apply. It's going to change all of these different settings. And now a really important setting is the anchor depth. The anchor depth determines how far down the hierarchy from the root bone the bones aren't going to be physics simulated. Here in Blender it was 1 because we don't want these bones to move. But if for example it was 2, this bone wouldn't move, as well as this one wouldn't move also. So we want to leave it at 1. Then I can close the SmartBone editor and just present how this hair is going to look with these current settings. It's going to behave more like an actual hair right now. And this cylinder right here is a SmartBone collider that if I jump on, the hair is going to collide on. And there is also some different stuff going on with this strand of hair right here, and that's because our head is set as a collider and it's kind of just getting stuck. But at least it's not as broken as this one. What I could for example also do is select all of these bones, except these ones because these ones aren't going to be moving, same with the root bone. And with the SmartBone editor plugin, I could change their radius to be maybe on like 0.05. Okay, and this one doesn't want to change, so I'm going to change it manually from the attributes. And I'm going to just do a presentation also. So yeah, now it's a bit different, but you can see that it's kind of still clunky. But overall the hair is working properly, except just these side strands of hair. And I also wanted to show because in my opinion you shouldn't be using SmartBone 2 yet. That's because this version is still kind of not ready for release. It's in version 0.3, and there might be different bugs as well as this whole module being kind of unstable at times. For example with this hair, you can see that it has basically the same attributes, nothing really changed, the hierarchy is also similar, but yeah, in my opinion you should be using SmartBone 1 until the SmartBone 2 version is ready. And now I've put SmartBone 1 into the replicated storage, but you can see how it's going to be backwards compatible with the hair. Except a bad thing is that it's not going to really have any collisions. But you can see how the hair is basically rigged and it's behaving like hair. So yeah, I made videos on both SmartBone 1 and SmartBone 2, so you can go and watch those. But that's going to be basically everything for today. So if you found this tutorial informative, then please leave a like, it would really support my channel, and if you want you can also become a channel member. But yeah, I hope you guys had a nice day and see ya.